Hello, my name is Javert and I work as a criminal investigator. In my line of work, I often come across people who have hit rock bottom. Most of them have committed some kind of crime, in which case it is my duty to see that they are brought to justice. Others have been victims of a crime, in which case the culprits must be found and called to answer for what they've done. Now, society seems to have a kinder view of rock bottom than I personally find palatable. In the kinder view, there are two rock bottoms: those who are born into situations that are less than ideal, and those who have made terrible decisions and suffered the consequences. To me, it is only the second situation that is truly rock bottom. The first situation is out of your hands, but the second is the result of immoral and illegal decisions. It doesn't matter where you've come from. What matters is what these people do to better themselves and their lot. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, because it isn't. Picking yourself up and redeeming yourself in the eyes of society and the law is going to take a lot of time and hard work, but it can be done. I recently met a young boy, and for legal reasons I can't name him, so let's just call him Peter, whose father was facing some jail time. His father was the only relative that he had, so as a minor he'd be placed in foster care while his father serves his sentence. As I'm sure you can guess, Peter was not happy with the situation, and the reason I met him in the first place was because I caught him preparing to attempt theft. I told him to accompany me to the station and informed him of something that I hope will help him find the right path in life. That crime is never the right answer. Even when life treats you harshly, it is simply the easy answer. It's never going to help you in the long run. I would like to take just a moment to respond to someone's comment on my first video. They go by the name Animation of Youth, and they seem to think that when the law is unjust, it is up to individuals to break it. They think this, despite my clear explanation of the moral position, which is that the law is inherently binding and carries inherent moral authority on top of its consequential benefits for society. Most importantly, they willfully ignore the possibility for legislative change in order to justify totally uncalled for civil disobedience. Countries have governments and legislatures. These exist for the purpose of creating and changing law. The law is not eternal in its individual decrees. It is, however, eternal in its authority. If you think that the law is unjust, write to your legal representative. Start a petition, lobby for change, but do not presume to think that your opinion makes you exempt from the law's decrees. I once knew a kid in a similar situation who raised himself above his circumstances, and the only way he could do this was through legal means. And if that kid could do it, so could Peter. This other kid's situation was pretty unpleasant, but also pretty typical. Father never around much, mother scraping by as a tarot reader on street corners, just skirting the edges of the law. No steady income, not by a long shot, but they just about got by. It would have been so easy for this kid to just fall into his father's footsteps, especially the less than clean paths that those footsteps trod. It would have been so very easy to just stay in the dark with the rest of the scum that or my father and the people he worked with. I remember a moment when I was about 16 years old, when I made the decision not to become what my father and so many others have become. I was in a shop one day, much like the shop that Peter was attempting theft. I don't know why I'd gone in exactly. It wasn't as if I had money to buy anything. My mother had more difficulty with customers and the law. My father and his dubious income had been gone for at least a year, and I was standing there, with a loaf of bread in my hands, thinking that I could easily just take it. There was no one around except for the shopkeeper and myself. He couldn't see me from where I was standing. There were no cameras, no security. It was the moment when I realized I could rise above my past and the circumstances that I had lived in my whole life if I chose to. I had a choice between walking out with the bread and feeding us that night, and by doing so, following in my father's footsteps, and leaving without it, and trying to redeem myself. I walked out without the bread, and I came back the next day asking for a job. I decided then that if I was going to rise above my origins through the legal means, I might as well work towards upholding the legal means. I might as well become the law. I spent years stocking shelves and sweeping floors in the evenings and weekends while still at school and through a degree. I worked as a security guard and for a while as a guard in a prison, and eventually put myself through the police academy and joined the force. It has not been easy, but the easy option, stealing that bread, for example, would have gotten me nowhere except eventually in the next cell from my father. It is possible to raise yourself above your circumstances. It is possible to change your life, to redeem your life for the better. And the only way to do so is through obedience to the law. Think for a moment how much of a nonsense it is to claim that it is possible to achieve a position of morality through immoral means. The law is the only path to righteousness and redemption. Those who walk it will not do so in vain.